I swear that woman had the nerve of a mountain lion and the brain of a chicken. I never thought I'd see the day someone would willfully block a working barn with a golf cart just because she didn't like the smell of animals. But that's Karen for you, the self-appointed queen of the neighborhood, who thought property lines, common sense, and basic decency didn't apply to her. It all started on a blazing Saturday morning in mid-June, the kind of day where the air feels like it's holding its breath before a storm. I was knee-deep in hay, sweat trickling down my neck, getting ready to load up feed for my cattle. That barn was my family's lifeline. 3 generations had worked those fields, raising livestock, selling milk, and tending to every inch of that soil with pride. But ever since Karen and her husband moved in next door, buying one of those fancy new houses on the edge of my land, it's been nothing but drama. Complaints about the noise, about the smell, and even about my rooster, who apparently had the audacity to crow too early for her liking. That morning, though, she took it to a whole new level. I came out of the barn, loaded feed sacks on the tractor, and stopped dead in my tracks. Right there, smack in front of the barn doors, sat a shiny white golf cart, and there she was, Karen herself, leaning back with her sunglasses on, sipping an iced drink like she was on vacation. I wiped the sweat off my brow and called out, "Karen, you'll need to move that." I got work to do. She didn't even look up, just waved her hand lazily and said, "You can wait. I'm making a phone call." I blinked, trying to process the sheer absurdity of it. "Karen, I've got livestock that need feeding. That cart's blocking the barn door. Move it now." That's when she smirked. "Maybe you should consider keeping your animals quieter at night. My husband couldn't sleep, and we pay property taxes too, you know." I could feel my jaw tighten. I'd dealt with rude people before, but this was deliberate. She was using that golf cart as leverage, like she was teaching me a lesson. Then she said something that flipped the switch inside me. "Maybe it's time this area stopped smelling like a farm," she said, wrinkling her nose. "Some of us are trying to live a civilized life." I just stood there for a moment, silent. Then I took a deep breath and walked over to the barn. Inside, I could hear the snorts and heavy breathing of the animals, especially my prize bull, Duke. Duke was a massive, muscular creature, calm most days, but intimidating enough that no one ever wanted to get too close. He had been pacing, restless, waiting for his feed. That's when an idea struck me. I walked to the side gate, unlocked it, and swung it wide open. The sound of the latch made Karen look up, her sunglasses slipping down her nose. "What are you doing?" she asked sharply. "Oh, just feeding time," I said with a perfectly calm smile. And then Duke stepped out. He was a sight to behold. Brown coat gleaming, horns catching the sunlight, tail swishing with impatience. The moment he spotted Karen's golf cart, he snorted and pawed the ground. Karen froze, her drink slipping from her hand and splattering over her shorts. What is that thing doing out here?" she shrieked. I leaned against the fence casually. "That thing lives here, and right now you're blocking his path." Her eyes went wide as Duke began lumbering forward, slow but steady. He wasn't charging, just curious. But to someone like Karen, who had probably never seen anything bigger than a golden retriever, he might as well have been a charging rhino. "Move your cart," I called out. "He doesn't like shiny things in his way." That was all it took. She scrambled out of the golf cart like her life depended on it, tripping over her own flip-flops, and tried to push it out of the way. But the wheels were turned, and the cart wouldn't budge fast enough. Duke let out a loud bellow, shaking the air. Karen screamed, a sound so high-pitched it probably scared birds 3 miles away, and finally managed to shove the cart aside, tumbling to the dirt in the process. She bolted down the path, sprinting toward her property line, shrieking something about calling the police. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Not in a cruel way, but in that deep, satisfied way that comes after weeks of frustration finally boil over into poetic justice. I gently called Duke back, tossed him some feed, and closed the gate. "Good boy," I muttered, patting his neck. About 20 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser rolled up. Sheriff Dawson stepped out, an old friend of my father's, trying not to smile. "Got a call about a dangerous bull chasing a woman?" he asked, eyebrow raised. I shrugged. Bull never left the fence line. She was just in his way. Dawson chuckled. That's what I figured. I'll go have a word with her. Apparently, Karen had tried to file a complaint for endangerment, but once Dawson reminded her that she was trespassing and blocking private property, her tone changed real fast. She ended up getting a warning for trespassing instead. The next morning, she sent her husband over with an apology from both of them. He looked embarrassed, like he'd spent the night listening to her rant, and finally realized just how ridiculous she sounded. From that day on, Karen kept her distance. No more golf carts near my barn, no more complaints about country smells. She even waved once or twice after that, though I'm pretty sure it was out of sheer fear of Duke more than anything else. Standing out by the fence a few days later, I realized something. You can't always reason with entitled people. Sometimes you just have to let nature, and in this case, a 1,200-pound bull, do the talking. But the real lesson? Respect goes both ways. You can't come into someone's life, their land, or their livelihood and expect the world to bend for your comfort. Some people forget that until the bull comes walking out of the barn to remind them. And trust me, Duke's reminder was one she'll never forget.